Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Live on this beautiful Wednesday morning in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the universe. But then you too are the center of the universe. So let's talk about the Confederacy and the statues, which Blackstone is just about 50 miles, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours from Charlottesville, 2.5 hours. Every courthouse in Southside Virginia, every county has a statue of a Confederate soldier, general, and a cannon, probably. Ours does. And beneath the statue are engraved the Confederate soldiers who died from this county. And you can see the family names. Most of the old families here had sons fought in the Civil War. Many had slaves, small farms, no big, huge plantations. This is ground zero of the South, the Confederacy. Here, most of the war was fought here in Virginia. It's a great place for Civil War reenactments, where the battles are meticulously fought down to Civil War underwear, just as they were in the Civil War. And libraries are full with books on the Civil War. And now people are taking the statues down, and people are getting angry. And why is that? What's going on? Let's look at statues. I mean, they're just hunks of stone. They're just stone. The pigeons crap on them. They just stand there. They're just part of the landscape. What are they holding up? If you go back to ancient civilizations, when you're a god, you get a statue. When you are a pillar of society, you get a statue. When you do great work for the world, you get a statue. When you are a hero who sacrifices your life, you get a statue. It's like these are the gods of our civilization. In the same way that you go to Rome and look at the statues everywhere. Greece, they were the ones that really made the gods human. Before Greece, the gods were you didn't have any statues of gods, human gods. It was Greece that made the Greek mind made the gods in human form. Brought the transcendent down to history. You see, so in most of the Eastern religions, the Eastern traditions, you don't have statues of gods. They're more abstract. Well, like a Buddha is not a statue of a person. It's an abstract god. It's a symbol. It's a metaphor. You see. And you don't have any statues of Jesus. Have you ever noticed that? You may see some, but they're not. You don't have a statue of Jesus in front of every church. That's considered to be idolatry. And the Catholic Church has statues of Mary. There's a Catholic church here in town. There's a statue of Mary there, and but you don't see. You see statues of Jesus in the church hanging on the cross, but that's a metaphor. But the actual statues of the human historical figure, you see, these are our gods. And the Confederate soldiers are our gods. And what do gods hold up? Gods hold up a mythology. Gods hold up a way we organize ourselves unconsciously. You know, when you go to your family dinner, and particularly if you're in everybody's got their place, the father sits here, the mother sits there, the kids sit there. It's kind of like a place bet. And societies have a placemat. Societies have they have to. Otherwise, it would just be anarchy. So societies have a unconscious collective order of behavior on how the components of the society relate to each other. It's unconscious. When you're born into that society, you just absorb it unconsciously. And that's just the way things are. That's just the way we do things here, you see. We don't do that here. I mean, it's just the assumption of behavior. I became aware of this assumption of assumed behavior. We have, and I mentioned this the other day, but we have some black friends who go to local. I was doing some photograph at a church, and that we've been doing business and friendship for a long time. And it's always Mr. Conley, Mrs. Conley this, and it's always first name that. So I said, well, listen, if we're going to call you by your first name, you've got to please call us by our first name. And it was so giggly. It was so funny. Ooh, that feels funny. Ooh. Oh, Ed. And giggle. It was funny. It was, this is not the way that we're supposed to, this is not the placemat. Feels kind of free. But just people who live in the South, that's the assumed relationship. But Mr. This, Mrs. That, and James and Bob and Luther and all that, you see. But boy, if a black person calls you by your first name, there's a shock. There's a wait. It might even be anger. You see, there's a disturbance in the field. The field is disturbed. The field holds everything in place. And these Confederate statues hold this field in place like tent poles holding a mythological umbrella over the South. And this is unconscious. And we don't like it to be conscious. We don't like to see that this creates a division in society that is unconscious. We don't like to be conscious of that because we invest in it. We get secret pleasure out of it. If you're a white person, you like to be called Mr. and Mrs. You like that deference. You like that status. It's an assumed status. And black people are accustomed not to disturb it. Not to disturb it because they know the reaction. When these statues went up, it was in the 20s and 30s. And this was the time of the lynching. The trees of the South hung the fruit. There's Nina Simone. Black fruit hanging from the cottonwood tree, you see. Lynching and these statues rose together to enforce this mythology upon a society, to create a permanent 1,000-year Reich of separation and status among the races of the South, which are really pretty equal, black and white, when you get down to it. So this mythology I equate with a religion. It's a secular religion. And so the statues are the gods that hold up this tent, this mythology. We don't understand mythology. I've studied mythology since at least 1970, and through Joseph Campbell, and it takes your whole lifetime to understand the power of mythology, because you first have to understand it in your own life. We all have personal mythology, then we have, it's like Russian nesting dolls. You go your personal mythology. Mythology is a story, the story of you that holds you together. So whatever happens in your life, it becomes another chapter in your story. And this you are held together and given the feeling of permanence and a solid existence because of the story of you. And it becomes very difficult to make that, and that's unconscious. Consciousness lives like a little island in like consciousness is like a little clear space in a lake full of algae. So you kind of like have a little clear space of consciousness, and the rest is algae, unconsciousness. And the unconsciousness is so it takes a little struggle to stay conscious. You got to keep working at it. Well, the unconsciousness is your story. And the societies have their stories, their mythologies. America has mythologies. Every society has its mythologies. The story of America. The story that holds us together. And our statues in the South has a different mythology than the North and the West. The South has a mythology that is reenacted in every generation unconsciously. And it's unconscious because the reenactment happens in patterns that we don't recognize as a repetition or a reenactment of the past. So we're becoming more conscious in America. That's what we're going through. We're becoming more conscious. We have to, or else we're going to self-destruct. We unconsciously destroy the earth. So now we're becoming more conscious. And wait a minute, all this plastic crap. See what I'm doing? Look what I'm doing. We're destroying the earth. I become conscious of that. And when I become conscious of it, I stop doing it. But even there's resistance. Resistance against climate change is a resistance against being conscious. So the unconscious resists the consciousness because we have investment in the unconscious patterns that give us the sense of this is just the way things are. It's just the way things are that black people call me Mr. and I call them James. That's just the way things are. I don't want to question that, you see. Because then I would have to question my sense of place and my identity of being special. Of being special, you see. For me to be special, you got to be unspecial. That's the way it works. For me to be up, you got to be down. That's the way it works, you see. But that's unconscious. Consciousness does not make anybody special. So anyway, we're going through a particularly angry little phase right now. And Trump is, of course, the lightning rod. Charlottesville is a lightning rod. It's really brought the whole thing, it's like a big pimple. It's just brought it all up. Facebook, all my friends are saying, oh, why should you, don't destroy history. This is sacred history. This is our history. Don't take the statues down just to feel good, you see. And so then you got the people angrily tearing down the statues like Saddam Hussein is taken down, like a dictator is taken down. So what's going on here? It's basically we're being forced to become more conscious and push back the algae of unconsciousness and push back the mythology that has kept us hostage in the past, in the romance of the South and the romance of the Confederacy. I've been writing about this a lot today, and I'm keep digging up more stuff as I think about it and write about it. And it seems to me that the romance of the South is the romance of the rebel, the hero who will sacrifice himself or will charge even though he knows it's a lost cause. The lost cause is very romantic, you see. It's like the romance of lovers who die rather than give up their love. Love and romance is all about death, a glorious death, fearless in the face of death, a heroic individual who goes into death fearlessly. That's the romance. In Love and War, the romance of the last charge, the hero the special individual, you see. The knight on the shining armor, the Civil War general on a horse, you see. These are mythic figures, romantic figures. And this is very appealing in a modern society of 9 to 5, where you go to work and drive a truck all day, and you come home and you have to, you're just so tired, you just watch TV and have a drink and go to sleep. Get up again, 9 to 5. What's the purpose? Where's the romance? Where's the hero in that, you see? So the romantic myth, that's why we love action movies. They're all romance. The action hero is like the rebel soldier, you know, the hero. Slays the dragon. David slays Goliath. You see, this is all embedded in us, you know, and particularly young people. Young people are romantics, and they want to be heroes. They want to have a cause. They want to have a purpose. So romance gives you a purpose, you see. So if you're going to have a purpose, then you have to have an enemy. You have to have a cause. You have to have a fight, you see. So this whole mythology creates an oppressor. It creates an enemy, an other, an evil government. It creates the alien force. It creates the stormtroopers. It creates the monsters. It creates the alien invasion. And it creates the hero who takes the last stand and saves humanity, who saves the South from the invasion of these machine people, the stormtroopers, the invasion of the industrial age on the Garden of Eden of the southern plantation, where the whites and the darkies all happily dance together, you see. This Garden of Eden. And the evil machine people, the immigrants, these Yankees, come in, you see. And the heroes rise up, mount their horses, put on their swords, and ride off to defeat these aliens, these foreigners, you see. This evil empire. It's all mythology. You can see it everywhere. You see, and so so we're just in a process right now of clinging to the unconscious myths and letting them go. So it's a clash of unconscious with conscious, with reality of the world we live in today, this global world. Do you realize how interdependent our world is? You go to Walmart today, and if you took away all of the imports from other countries, there wouldn't be anything there. It'd be empty. And everything comes on time. Amazon, everything, it's all interrelated. It's all global. There is no single entity, and everything is interrelated, you see. There are no walls. And yet this mythology creates a wall. This mythology creates a wall with us, the true humans on the inside, and the non-humans on the outside. And then you fill in the blank on whatever you want, you see, the definition. But the mythology holds it in place. And Trump rose to power on this mythology. The first thing he did was create a wall. A walled city with the true humans inside and the subhumans outside. And then that just keeps morphing around. But the pattern, you see, we have to see the pattern, the mythology of it. Because the pattern just wears different clothes. But the pattern's unconscious. We're conscious of the immediate situation. It's like we're conscious of the form, but we're not conscious of the pattern that holds the form in place. And this is why we get so confused, because why is this happening? What's going on? The pattern is activated. See, so there's and you connect the dots. You're trying to figure out what the pattern is, Well, it was so obvious in Charlottesville because when you got a group, when you got 3 flags hanging in a row, a Confederate flag, a Nazi flag, and an American flag, you got 3 flags all becoming one with the Nazi salute and the Nazi chants, you see. So you got all of this convergence into a single mythology. And so the statues are take down the statue. What basically this is take down the mythology that's holding. There's nothing wrong with the Southern history. It's the mythology. It's the South where black people call me Mr. Conley, and I call them James. And that's just the way things are, you see. It's like this. Not like that, you see. So this, the way things are, is being challenged. And that's the mythology, and that's the unconsciousness that has to become conscious if we're going to survive as a nation. And that's really an existential question where we are right now. The rest of the world is moving ahead with globalization, green energy. And America is just becoming a little backwater nation, self-conflicted, destroying itself. The snake, America, is becoming this. A snake consuming itself. And it's mythology. It's because we refuse to become conscious to the new world we live in. We're refusing to become conscious and aware and join this new global world that the internet is the paradigm for. The internet is the new paradigm. There's no boundaries in the internet. There are no walls in the internet. Everything, every computer, every cell phone is the center of the internet. This is the new paradigm. Every one of us is the center of this new world. But as soon as you draw a wall and get inside of it, you're back into the romance of the Confederacy. And now we feel like these people, they are trying to come and take away my freedom. Take away my America. My America is this little place in a wall, inside the wall. The little bitty, and the algae is coming in, you see. And that division is the division of the mythology that we live in and refuse to make conscious. So these statues are basically the pillars of this mythology. And the statues are in public property, are on public grounds, courthouse. They should go to a museum. Anyway, so I'll continue looking at this. It's very invigorating. It's very interesting as it unfolds, and as we try to understand it, and to get beyond the us versus them, and to get beyond the walled-in city, the living in a feudal land of a castle, constantly being invaded by the feds and the government, and the aliens, and the blacks, and the gays, and the women, and the immigrants, and the Mexicans. You see, this little bit of white paint here in the middle with a wall around it generates Nazis. Generates Nazis. That's a Nazi generating machine. Anyway, thanks for dropping in.